A warm welcome to all of you, and I thank you for taking the time to attend today's workshop. I'm Tom Joes, product expert, and I work in the marketing section of Manage Engine team. And today's workshop will be taken by me. Now I hope my voice is audible and the display is well and clear. If not, please let us know in the chat provided. Now this is the fourth workshop that is being conducted in the AD Self-Service Plus workshop series. The first workshop was conducted on the password reset feature. The second one was on the password synchronizer feature. And the third one conducted last week was on the single sign-on feature. Now, if any one of you needs a copy of these workshops, just ping me in chat and we shall send it to you after the workshop. So today's agenda, as put up on the slide, we'll be covering the feature password expiry notification and how to ensure remote users change their passwords before the expiration date by sending notifications in a phased manner. For those of you who are new to the workshop series, let me start with what exactly is AD Self-Service Plus. AD Self-Service Plus is a secure, web-based, end-user password reset management program. This software helps domain users to perform self-service password reset, self-service account unlock, and employee self-update of personal details like telephone numbers, address, home office, etc. in the Windows Active Directory. Administrators find it easy to automate password reset, account unlocks, etc., hence optimizing the expenses associated with the help desk calls. Now, imagine a large corporation where the employees are so busy in their work schedule that resetting their passwords before the expiry seems the least of their worries. Now, in such scenarios, they need to be constantly reminded of the impending password expiry. And this can be a tedious job for the administrator as he has to specifically find those users whose password is going to expire and then remind them. And if the password does expire, it will give way for a help desk call by the user to the sysadmin to help them reset their password. And that's where, folks, the AD Self-Service Plus comes to your rescue. Its password expiry notification feature looks up the Active Directory for user accounts whose passwords are about to expire and emails the account owners a notification recommending a password change. Now, it's not only just regarding password expiration. The end users can also be notified of their account status. And this will save both time and expense on the help desk calls. So as you can see, this workshop will show you the following: how to notify remote users about the impending password expiration via email, SMS, or push notifications, how remote users change their passwords after receiving an expiration notification, how to schedule password expiration reminders for remote users on specific days with targeted messages, how to notify the managers via email about the user's imminent password expiration, how to send mailers in the HTML format, and lastly, how to keep track of the remote user's password status using built-in reports. So let's get started, shall we? So I'll head to my AD Self-Service Plus homepage, and that is this. And here I'm going to log in as the admin. Now notice that once logged in, on the right side you can see the domain currently I'm viewing, and this is actually the one I've configured already. So if I head to the domain settings, you can see this is where I added the domain. and it's got the domain controller ADSSP-workshop, and I can choose to edit this domain, or I can refresh the domain objects, or I can even delete it. And here is where I'll add a new domain if needed. Now since that is cleared, I'll head over to the configuration tab, and here under the self-service we have the password expiration notification. Now when I click on this page, first thing I see is a pop-up that says that in order to configure the scheduler, I need to configure the mail server first. So I'll just click on OK, and will be redirected to the server settings, within which is the mail settings. So let me just configure the mail server first. So the mail server is SMTP. My firm address is tomjuice.m@zohocorp.com, and I shall give the same as my admin mail ID. And because I had given SMTP, I'll have to give in my SMTP authentication. So let me do just that. And then click on save. Now once that is done, let's head back to the password expiry feature. And now I'm going to configure my first scheduler. So here you can see that the scheduler name is mentioned. It's called soon to expire password notification scheduler. And here is where you choose the domain or the OUs or groups. So I'm going to be choosing one specific OU. So I'll just click on this and a pop-up will come. So first thing, I'll unselect the entire domain and expand the DOM OU, within which I have an OU called admin. So I'll just choose that one specifically and then click on OK. And the next thing is the notification type. So I had mentioned to you earlier that this feature can be used not only to remind the end users regarding the password expiry, but it can be also used for the account expiry as well. So here is where you make that choice. So I'm going to keep it as password expiry itself. And the next step is where we mention how we are planning to notify via. So it can be via mail, or it can be via SMS or push notification. But since I haven't configured that, currently it's not available. And then the notification frequency, whether you want to keep it as daily, weekly, or on specific days. And then here's where you schedule the time, like at what time exactly. So you can give a day if it's daily, or the time, etc. And the next step, this is where you mention when exactly you want to send the notification to the end users. So if a user's password is going to expire in 7 days or lesser, then he will be receiving this notification. So I'm going to keep this as 15, and then is where we are going to format the message. So the subject is as shown, password expiry notification, and the mail content, it's using some macros from this list shown over here, like username, date, time, etc. So I'll just read out the message to you. It says, dear username, that will be whatever the user's name is. Your password will expire on date time. So please change your domain password as soon as possible. And if you want, you can also give the access URL so that the user will receive the link within the mail itself, and he can just click on it and proceed for changing or resetting his password. So the macro for access URL is this one right here, and I'll just type that. And also, if at all you have changed your port or the protocol, you need to make sure you have configured the access URL here as well. So currently it's running on HTTP and port number 8888, so I'll keep it as it is. And now since that is done, I'll just click on save, and I've configured my first scheduler. Now instead of waiting for the scheduler to run automatically at the configured time, I can click on this option called run now, and it will immediately start. And now I'll see which all users have got my notification. So I'll head over to my email IDs and see that in my ZohoCorp ID, the user Tom Joes has received the mail and it says your password will expire on so and so date. Please change your domain password as soon as possible. Also, if I check my other email, you can see that here the user Eddie, he has received this message as well. And here the user David has received the message as well. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to head back to my ADSelfService Plus. I'll just edit it. And I'll go to the advanced settings. And I can choose an option called notify the enrolled users only. So if at all you want to make it specific, if you have a lot of users or unused users within your domain, and you want to send notification to only the enrolled users within ADSelfService Plus, you can check this box and click on done. And now if I click on save and run the scheduler, only the users who are enrolled into the ADSelfService Plus will be receiving the notification. So let's see who was affected, who received the notification and who did not. So you can see that the user Tom Joes got his mail again, and that's only because he was enrolled. The other users such as Eddie and David, they did not receive it as they were not enrolled. So with that, I have shown you our first topic, and that is how to notify the remote users about the impending password expiration. Now I'll show you the next step where how they change it. So assume that Tom just got the mail and there's a link over here, so I'll just click on it. And now I'm on to the ADSelfService Plus page. So what do? I go to the domain user login and I give in my credential, that is Tom Joes, and his password. Let me just type that and then click on login. And then I can just go over to change password, type in my old password and type in a new password, making sure that it follows the domain password policy requirements. So let me just do that. I shall confirm it as well and then hit change password. So you can see that the password change was a success, and this is exactly how the end users will be changing their password once they receive the notification via email. Now next, what I'm going to be showing you is how you can not only notify the users whose passwords are going to expire, but also the users whose password has already expired. So for that, I'll be creating a new scheduler. I'll call it password expired notification. And I'm going to choose again here a specific OU that will be within the DOM OU, the support OU, and click on OK. And then I'm going to select the same notification type, that is password expiry, notify via, that is mail, and the frequency is daily. And I'm going to just mention here the subject so that the fields are not empty, but our main focus is for the password expiry notification. So the subject, I'm going to keep it as password expiry soon, and the mail content will be, dear user, your password will expire soon. Please change it immediately. Regards, administrator. But this configuration is only for the users whose password is going to expire. So you might be wondering, where exactly do I configure for users whose password is already expired? Well, that can be done in the advanced settings, and that is right here. So you can see we have an option over here that's called notify password expired users, and you can just customize this separately. So the notification for soon to expire has a different configuration, and the notification for password expired has a different configuration. So this will be the message the password expired users are going to receive. And here again, I'll be mentioning the access URL, and I'll just check this box and then click on done, and I'll save it. And again, instead of waiting, I'll just click on run now and see which all users received the notification. So you can see two of my users have received. One is Brian and the other one is James. So what I'm going to be doing first is I'll try to reset the password of Brian first. So here you know that I cannot log in as Brian this time because his password is expired, right? So if I try to log in, it'll just show this if I just try to do it, it'll say something like password is expired, exactly like I told. So we need to try other methods, and that'll be something like forgot your password. So I'll go to forgot your password and then type in his username, that is Brian, and click on continue. And now, since the user Brian was already enrolled into the ADSelfService Plus before his password expired, he is able to reset his password using the security question answers. So let me just answer his question, security question, and then go ahead typing the CAPTCHA, that is 309N9E, and continue. So with that, I have successfully authenticated the user Brian, and now I am on to the reset password page. Now a few things before I reset his password is that on the top right of this page, we have the time left for this operation. By default, it's 5 minutes. And if you do exceed it, your session will expire and you need to start it all over again. So if you want to extend this time limit or reduce it, you can choose to do so from the administrator page. And next thing is on the left side, we have the domain password policy requirements. And this as well, we need to keep in mind while typing in a new password. So I shall do just that. And let me confirm it. Then for the CAPTCHA, that is 59DGDN, and reset. And the password change was a success. So now I'll try logging as a user Brian along with his password, his new password, and let's see if that worked. And yes, it did. So that's how you can notify the users whose password has already expired and how you can reset it. So now that is for Brian. Now let's see how it works for James, right? So now if James had seen his mail and he clicked on the link as usual, and now since like I told you earlier, he won't be able to log in as his password is expired. So the normal thing to do is click on forgot your password, right? Now here he mentions his username, that is James, and clicks on continue. But he's received a notification, he's received an error message that says you are required to enroll. So what exactly happened is that James was not enrolled like Brian there, and he's forgotten his password, so he cannot log into ADSelfService Plus and enroll. So he's kind of in a fix. He cannot enroll, neither can he reset his password, right? Now don't worry, for such scenarios we have another authentication method, and that is called the verification code authentication method. Now this can be enabled by going to the administrator page, that is here. So I log in as the administrator and go to the configuration. Here under policy configuration, we have something called the multi-factor authentication. Now here is where we can see that there are three types of authentication methods. One is a security question answer, which I showed you how to do it, and it's enabled by default. The other two, as you can see, are not enabled. So we need to enable the verification code via the email, and using this, the user James will be able to reset his password. So now I'll click on forgot your password. And what this verification code authentication method does is it basically fetches the email ID of the respective user from the Active Directory and gives the end user an option to send the verification code to that mail ID, and using which he can authenticate himself. So now if I give in the username James and click on continue, he's no longer receiving that error message, and his email ID is shown, and he just have to type in his captcha, that is 08CQ48, and continue. And now the verification code would have been sent to his inbox. So let's just check if it received. And yes, it has. So this is the verification code message which the end users will be receiving. And at the end of the message is the code. So I shall just copy that and paste it here. Next, for the captcha, that is QKMMMG, and continue. And again, we have successfully authenticated the user, James, and now he can go ahead and reset his password. So I'll just type in the password and confirm it as well. And the captcha, that is FKS5IC. And the password change was a success. So now I shall just close this and let's just recap. So right now I showed you how to change the password of password expired users via the security questions method to the reset password page, and also if the user hadn't enrolled and his password expired, then you can use a verification code authentication method and send a verification code to the end user's email ID, using which he can authenticate himself and continue resetting his password or unlocking his account. So next, what we're going to check is how we can schedule password expiration reminders for remote users on specific days with targeted messages. So I'm going to head back to my ADSelfService Plus, and I'm going to add a new scheduler. I'm going to call it multiple days password expiry notification. And here again, I'm going to be choosing one specific OU, and that is within the term OU, the HR OU, and click on OK. And like the before schedulers, everything is the same regarding the notification type and the notify wire, but the notification frequency is where the change is, and that is basically on specific days. So the moment I chose specific days, I'm receiving 4 templates, and each is for a different number of days for when the password or account expiry is going to happen. So each of these templates has a different message. So this one is basic. It just says your password will expire and so and so. So please change your domain password as soon as possible. The next message is a little more serious. Like it says that it mentions how much trouble he could be in if the password is expired and he will not be able to access his machine. So it's mentioned here, you have been reminded already about the impending password expiry. However, you have not changed it. Please change it as soon as possible. And the next one is similar to the previous one. It's mentioning also something extra that says, if you do not change it now, you might find yourself locked out of your computer. So please change it immediately. So these 3 templates will be sent to users whose passwords are expiring in 7 days, 3 days, and 1 day. The last one, it's shown as 0 days, and this basically means that the user's password is expiring today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just configure or edit this message a little bit. So I'm going to mention this for users whose password is going to expire in 10 days, and the subject, let's make it specific, password expiry in 10 days. I'll just copy that. And next one is for 5 days, and I'll just change the subject as password expiry in 5 days. Next one is in 3 days, and again the subject I'll just change it and make it 3 days. And here I'll just mention the access URL as well, so that it's convenient for the users to click on instead of going to the address bar and typing it all over again, right? So that being done, I've configured this message. It's for the users whose password is going to expire for 10, 5, 3 and today respectively. And then I'm going to click on save and then run the scheduler. So now let's see who all receives what message, and I'll just head over to my inbox, and you can see that I've got 3 separate messages for 3 different users with 3 different mail content, right? So the user Harold has got this casual message as his password is only going to expire in 3 days. Then the next user is Ross, and his password is going to expire in 5 days, and his message is a little more stringent compared to what Harold got. And the last one, that is Scott, his password is going to expire in 3 days, and his message is at most strict. It even mentions that if you do not change it now, you might find yourself locked out of your computer, so please change it immediately. And then, so with multiple reminders, this can help the users to make sure they've changed the password, or they do change the password eventually, and avoid being locked out of their computer, and ultimately avoid giving a help desk call to the IT administrator, right? So that makes it all the more easier for the sysadmin or the administrator in your organization. So then remaining is, like I showed you, you just click on the link, and if the user is enrolled, he can go ahead and type in his username and password. And if he's not, like in the case of Scott, he might have to enroll, or he doesn't have to, right? Because he was enrolled using the verification code method. So because he had enrolled via this method, he does not need to enroll in security question answers, as it's not made compulsory. And then he can just go to change password, type in his old password following with his new password, and get done with it. So that's how you can send messages or specific messages for remote users on specific days. Next, what we're going to see is how we can not only notify the end users regarding their password expiration, but you can also notify their managers as well about the user's imminent password expiration. So let's see how we do that, right? So I'll again head back to my ADSelfService Plus, and I log in as the administrator. And now I go to the configuration tab here in the password expiry notification. Now instead of adding more schedulers, I'll just go ahead and edit an existing one, and that is basically the first scheduler I had created, and that is the soon to expire password notification scheduler. So I'll click on edit, and here I'll just reduce the number of days as something like 9, and within the advanced settings I'll just uncheck this box which says notify the enrolled users only, as I do not believe that the users who have a manager have enrolled, so I'll just uncheck it. And then is the main thing where we check this box which says mail admin the notification delivery status, and I'll mention the email ID, that is tomjuice.m@sohocorp.com. And also this other box which says send the notification delivery status to the user's manager, which is exactly what we have come here for, right? So with this, the end user will be receiving the password expiry notification, and his manager as well as the administrator will be receiving the notification delivery status of that particular message. So I'll just click on done and save this scheduler with the changes done. And again, instead of waiting, I'll just run it now itself. Now let's see who has received the notification. And you can see that the user Eddie, he has received the notification because his password is going to expire. And let's see how the administrator and Eddie's manager has received the message. So the administrator is basically myself, and I had given my email ID. So he had received this message. So it says, "Dear admin, attached with this email is a report indicating delivery status of the password or account expiry notification to the end users. The same file can also be found in the storage path chosen by you." So this was for the administrator. So let's see Eddie's manager receiving the mail. So Eddie's manager was basically David, who I have shown you earlier, and he has received this mail, and it's exactly the same as what the admin received. And if I just download this and click on it, you can see the report generated. So it's mentioned with the display name, that is Eddie Mora, the password last set, password expiry date, and the mail delivery status, whether it was a success. So this can be useful for the managers and the administrator to keep a track of their respective users, whether they're receiving the mail and how many days left for the password to expire, and even they can go to the users personally and remind them to change the password, right? So with that being done, I've covered that topic as well, where we notify the managers via email about the user's imminent password expiration. Now next, what I'm going to do is show you how you can send the mailers in HTML format. So you must have seen the mailers right now. It was just basic. There's not much of fancy content, right? It's just the usual plain text with the URL maximum, and that's it, right? So you can choose to have a fancy outlet, or you can have a fancy message content like what I've shown you with this particular HTML content, right? So I'll just copy this content. It's the same thing with little more HTML elements in it, so that it looks good. And now I'll just head to my ADSelfService Plus. Again, edit the scheduler. So again, I'll edit the existing scheduler itself, because why need to create more? And here I've pasted the content, and I'm going to click on save and then run the scheduler, right? So this basically has the HTML content, and let's see how it looks. So I received a notification for the user Eddie. Now what I'm going to be showing you is what most people make mistakes, and that is they configure the HTML content within the schedulers, but they forget to enable the HTML within the mail settings. And that's exactly why I have received the content in its raw format, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll head back, go to the admin settings, and go to the product settings where we have server settings, under which is the mail settings, and this is where I had configured my mail settings earlier. And I'm going to check this box which says send emails in HTML format. So with that being checked, after typing my password as well to make sure the changes are saved, I'll just click on save over here. And now when I head back to the configuration tab to basically the password expiry notification feature, and now when I run this, we'll see the difference of what happened between enabling the HTML and disabling the HTML. So now I have received the message again, and now I'm going to just open this, and voila, you can see that the mail content looks much better, right? It's got the logo on the top right, it's got a background, And it's even not showing the URL, but just a click here. So I can just click here and be redirected to the ADSelfService Plus homepage. So that's how this works. And you can even go with more fancy HTML, just configure it, and ADSelfService Plus allows you to do so. So that was the topic covered, that is send mailers in HTML format. Now the last topic which we're going to cover is basically how to keep track of the remote user's password status using built-in reports. Now the entire concept of reports tab was only implemented because, well, like I told you, the administrators, if they receive mails regarding any password change or notification status, they can't keep in track of all of them, right? And there's no flexibility because in the inbox with all the mails clustered, you cannot just filter it or sort by OUs, etc. So within the ADSelfService Plus, you can just head over to the Reports tab. Here we have three types of reports. First one being is the user reports. It covers user reports like logged out users report, then soon to expire password users report. And here it has mentioned for all I'll show all the users whose passwords are going to expire here. And then we have the password expired users report as well. And see right now, if I just click on generate and update the content, you can see that the two users who I changed the password for earlier, that is Brian and James, they are no longer appearing here. Instead, the other users are here and their password is still left to be changed as they still expired. So then we have the audit reports, which basically show whether a reset password was a success. So if you can see the users, James and Brian had attempted the reset password, and you can see at what time it was done, from where was it done, and whether it was a success or not. Similarly, we have the same for unlock account, self-update, and change password as well. So in change password, you'll see Tom Jones, when he attempted, from where, whether it was a success. And you can also sort or filter by success or failure. You can choose a time period so that you can, make see a particular report from a particular time period. And you can also use the add OUs to see the reports of users from a specific OU or group. Then we have the notification delivery report. And here you can see whether the mails that is being sent by ADSelfService Plus, whether it's being sent or whether it's being successfully sent or not. And if at all, if it was a failure, the error message or the reason will be shown here as well. Next, I'm going to show you the enrollment report. So here we have things called the enrolled users report. And here it shows all the users who have enrolled in the ADSelfService Plus, such as Brian, James, Scott, and Tom Jones. Then we have something called the non-enrolled users report. And this basically shows all the users within your domain who are yet to enroll. Finally, we have something called the security question answers report. And this shows the users who have opted to configure security questions. And it shows the security questions, but don't worry, it does not show the answers. So with that, we have come to the end of today's workshop, as I've covered all the set exercises. The next session, I will be covering the password policy enforcer feature. And this feature basically adds another layer of policy on top of the existing password policy during password reset or change operations. So for a sneak preview, I will be showing you where exactly this feature is. I'll log in as the administrator, head over to the configuration tab, and under self-service, third option is the password policy enforcer. And here you can just choose the policy, choose the respective requirements, and click on save. So for more on this, just come back next week and I'll definitely be showing you how important and how convenient is the password policy enforcer. So I thank each and everyone for being such a wonderful audience and being patient with us. Now, Any questions regarding the session can be put in the chat box, to which we will reply immediately, or else if there isn't enough time, we will take it personally offline with you. Also, please take a minute or two to fill up the feedback form mailed to you after this session to let us know your thoughts on today's workshop and any room for improvement. Now, the video of this workshop will be available online and also shared with you personally on request through the chat or feedback form. I repeat, the video of this workshop will be available online and also shared with you personally on request through the chat or feedback form. This applies to the previous workshops as well. So please remember, the registration for this AD Self-Service Plus workshop is for the entire series, and a reminder will be sent to you a day before the workshop every week. Also, if you have any questions, and I will be answering all the questions right now, but if you later come across some questions or queries, feel free to send a mail to support@adselfserviceplus.com, and we'll sure to be continue from there. I repeat, support@adselfserviceplus.com. Thank you once again, and a good day to all. I'm looking forward to meeting you all next week.